welcome to another live broadcast from TrueFire Studios. I've been waiting on this one. So I love when this artist is back in the studio, and he's been in the studio many times. It's Congilio, okay? And I see a lot of familiar names in the chat thread, so I know a lot of you know all about Corey. Man, we've done, I think we just completed 18 and 19 projects together. 19 projects. Started years ago. Man, we started when we didn't even know what the heck we were doing together, right? And the first project's out of the can. Number one with a bullet, as they say in old radio. So we're going to do a lot of playing. We're going to show off 2 killer new courses. So I'll stop talking because I hate interrupting him when he's playing. I just want to watch and listen.
Well, you're going to have to talk now.
I know. I hate talking over the artist. We'll figure out a better sequence of doing this.
It's
just
good.
that it's
They've heard
like
me
it's
ramble
awkward
enough.
to say all these great things, while you're just sitting there soaking them in,
You know what you're doing. You're doing a fine job, man.
Man. So, it's amazing to me. I thought it was 15, but you just confirmed this is the 18th and the 19th project we've done together.
Right.
Over, God, how many years has it been? A lot of years, right?
7, 8-ish, somewhere around there.
And we were talking just before over lunch about, we first met Corey when he was living in Pittsburgh. He was a singer-songwriter, a producer. I didn't even know he played electric guitar. We told that story on the other live broadcast. So go tune that one in because that's a great story.
Sure.
But man, we have done, we've covered Texas blues, we've done licks, we've got that acoustic guitar playbook, killer.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of genres, and without a doubt, you're one of the most popular artists and educators we have the pleasure of working with. You might even be the most popular. Did I just say that?
There's
live?
probably a handful of instructors ready to bang.
All right, there's a couple more. But let's dig right in, man.
Sure.
You did 2 projects this week, Hip Blues, Outside Lines.
Yeah.
And you did Acoustic Crossover Soloing. Both of these courses we're really, really excited about. They were both great concepts you brought to the table, and we said, absolutely, let's do them. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the Hip Blues one first.
Well, I'm a player that likes to stick close to the vest for the most part. I find that melodically, it's a better experience for the listener. But there are times when you do want to play some more. It's become popular, this whole outside blues sort of thing. And the thing that I don't want to do is overdo it. So in a lot of these examples, it's just a 12 bar. So there's one that's even just a 1-chord vamp where I'm really trying to get the student to get their feet wet in these things and not create these crazy solos that you're never going to be able to play. I think that's one of the things that TrueFire has always done well is you've always helped us distill the information down to folks that are maybe in an intermediate phase or early or late intermediate, and of course beginners too. But so now as an educator, I make courses that are legit instructional material, not an opportunity for me to just kind of play what I do. So this is a combination of both. It's kind of like how I like to play, but with an emphasis on educating about arpeggios, a little bit of diminished stuff, minor 7-flat-5 arpeggios, melodic minor scales, all these little things that kind of help twist the ear a little bit, but are still manageable, in my opinion.
Yeah, and before we give folks a demonstration of that, you make a really good point because over these many years, we've seen you kind of evolve from a producer, a singer-songwriter. Of course, you've had your own bands, you've written your own material, but you are kind of not kind of, you're like a bona fide artist now, and you have developed your own voice on the instrument.
I'm trying all the time, yeah.
And it's been, incredible to watch that kind of happen.
Thanks.
So now you're able to come in, right? Where in the past you may have shown us how, Stevie played Texas blues.
Right.
Now you really do have your own style, and people are really digging that.
It's
so.
kind of one of those things they talk, like the child actor talks about growing up on film.
Right.
You know, it's the kind of thing, or it's
Right.
just like all of our playing is an evolution of things that we digest.
Yeah.
So that's continuing to happen for me all the time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people kind of don't see is that, and it's hard to teach guitar this way or put courses out, but how I play with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done worrying about that because I'm a really good band member.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a really good band leader.
You are.
And every artist I've ever played with has always been really happy to have me on one side of the stage or another because I put, the material and everything first and really try to bring a skill set to it that complements that. So hopefully I can bring some of that through the courses too.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Let's show them, one of the most, I guess, frequently asked questions that students have about playing outside lines is, how do I use the diminished scale or arpeggio in a blues context? And you give us a lesson on that here. Can you talk about that a little bit and then demonstrate it?
Diminished is probably one of my least favorite ones to do because to me it immediately sounds like people we've heard before, and
you can mention names.
Yeah. I think you actually, according to the producer, so I could talk about two things. Our producer is saying he meant dominant 7 arpeggios. You said diminished.
Sorry.
But that's okay because I did touch on diminished in this course a little bit.
Yeah.
But I only gave a little example of an arpeggio and then a little example of a diminished chord and how you could use that.
I'm
so
throwing
we can do
you
that.
for a loop. Just do that a little bit then.
So if you're just playing, it's like I'm in C. So something like that is, that classic 4th bar of the 12 bar where all the magic happens, going from the 1 chord to the 4 chord.
Okay.
Stuff like those kind of ideas. I'm very careful with how I use diminished because I don't want it to sound like that.
Right.
Almost like it's metal forced into a blues.
Right.
So I kind of I'm careful of that. I will say that our good friend Jeff Mackerlane's Diminished Blues course is a really good deep dive into that. It's fantastic and something people need to know about for sure. So in trying to not encroach on too much of that ground, I wanted to do other things like just start with dominant 7 arpeggios.
So let's do dominant 7. Then.
So really, now we're kind of starting a little bit back further.
Okay.
The course opens up with me playing just a tune in A, a little blues tune in A, and I'm really focusing on obviously an A7 arpeggio, D7, E7. So all that's well and good, and it's lessons in and of itself there. But the thing that also happens in that 4th bar of the 12-bar blues is that sort of imposed 2-5-1 progression. So this is it was interesting to explain it in a course. I've never had to do it before. But so you're cooking along an A, and you're playing A. So the next chord is the D7, that's the 4 chord. And we can kind of imply this 2-5-1 progression to the 4 chord.
Without actually having the rhythm player
Exactly.
play that, right?
Sometimes the bass player might do it, but you'll hear it more in like a jazz blues progression. But if we take some of that vocabulary and start to use it, then it kind of really makes us sound a little bit more sophisticated. So
Cool.
that's kind of the idea there. And there's a bunch of them all over the guitar. That's like the first thing when jazz improvisers start working or teaching, that's what they work on is 2-5-1 progressions. Because in the Great American Songbook, so many songs are...
Right.
And you got to be able to navigate that.
Right.
So knowing those arpeggios is really important.
So let's roll a track and demonstrate that.
did it in two ways. On the first pass through the 12 bar, I played that 2-5-1 here, because the 2-5-1 is E minor 7 to an A7, then the D7, and we'll work on E minor 7 arpeggio, A7 arpeggio, D7 arpeggio. Yeah.
Nice.
That's a little bit more sophisticated vocabulary than just playing through pentatonic. And then when we did the same thing up here, I did this one. And really all I did was outline the E minor 7 arpeggio, then the A7, and land on a D. Then you could play a D7 arpeggio there. And what I always like to do when I teach is if I show you something one way in one octave, I might take it to another octave, and then the shape that we use for the A, we use it for D, might use it for E. These are just teaching tools. This is, like I said, I might not necessarily play that in a live situation, but I know they're there. And you can hear the chord tones leading us through the song. I don't need to play chords.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Then if you do your, whatever from there you want to get, whatever, anything there.
Yeah.
So you could just kind of walk through it with arpeggios, and you're kind of good to go.
Awesome. By the way, Jeff McErlane is tuned in.
Yeah, because he's a stalking MFer is what he is.
And says the check's in the mail, buddy, for the nice plug for his Diminished
Oh, he
course.
hit me up last week. He's like, try and plug my Diminished course.
Hey, Jeff. Stay tuned in, man. There's some cool stuff here. A little bit of housekeeping, quickly. Number one, if you haven't told us where you're tuned in from, we love to gather that, as you know, and shout out to you. We're always blown away by how many different time zones and countries, and how vast and global this community guitar players really is. And Corey will shout back to you. Also, underneath the video, you'll see a couple of things that are important. One is there's a promo code, Corey Live. You can save 25% if you use that code anytime within the next 48 hours. You can pre-order the 2 courses that we're giving you a sneak peek at today, or any one of Corey's other. In fact, there's even one in the can that hasn't even been launched yet.
That's right.
Which one is that again? That's a Solo Factory.
Correct.
You can use it on In the Jam, or you can use it on any of the courses. But I think once you get through this live session, you're going to want to pick up one or both of these brand new ones as well. Meanwhile, you can buy them all. I can be a little gratuitous in my advertising and plugging here. I have every right to do that.
You got the keys to the car. You can drive it wherever you want.
So buy them all, okay? The other thing is today's trivia question. We'll give away that $100 gift card. Man, you could buy a lot of Corey's courses.
That's right.
You can buy a lot of Corey's courses, and maybe Jeff McErlane's Diminished as well, right? Which is a really
at full
good course.
price.
Okay.
No sale on that.
So Corey did a video called Unlock the Boxes. The video was called Unlock the Boxes. Hint, you could use that as a Google search. With what legendary guitarist? Somebody I'm a major fan of, and I know that you are as well.
Absolutely.
And he does incredible videos online, and I love this particular video.
Cool.
So you name that legendary guitarist. Use the link that you see in the chat thread there. You don't want to give away the correct answer to everyone, because that'll lower your odds. Register it. We'll give the card away at the end. While you're over in this section underneath the video, you see that little thumbs up thing. If you help us get northward, I will force Corey to play yet another solo, maybe even the acoustic thing that I love.
We got that too.
Off of one of these courses, so you get a little bonus there. Cool. Oh, questions. If you have questions, ask them. We'll gather them. Corey loves to answer those questions, and we'll do that at some point through the broadcast. But first, let me make sure I'm reading this one correctly.
Okay.
Okay. Before Tommy cuts my head off. The minor 7 flat 5.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Talk about that.
This is one of my favorite vehicles to use to play, to twist the ear a little bit. The way I learned it was to take a minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio, which would be. So that would be minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. Now, I don't know about anybody watching at home, but I don't really play minor 7 flat 5 chords all that much because I play a lot of blues, rock, and country, and I don't get that thrown at me a lot. Now, if I was maybe doing a jazz standard that had that in, that would be something. But I learned years ago that you could impose that arpeggio over a dominant 7 chord up a third. So if I'm playing an F7, I can use that A minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. And that really gives me an F9 sound. So it's kind of like an F9 arpeggio starting from the A. But for me, it always just made sense to say, well, let me find the A and get a fingering there. That worked really well. And what I do in the course is one of these examples is just in F. And the reason I do it in F is so that we can use A minor 7 flat 5 arpeggios. And it's just a process of kind of learning them. We can definitely, we can check that out maybe and see how we can navigate that arpeggio over that chord.
Cool. Tommy?
The reason I did it this way is that I could kind of just play a 1-chord vamp in F, and then as the measures kind of turn around, throw in the arpeggio. And one of the things I do is I kind of start on the arpeggio, walk it down chromatically here in this little spot, but then I talk in the course about having a safety net, and the safety net is the pentatonic. Mm-hmm. So I go back to that, start the pattern off. Mm-hmm. If you can get that far, that's great. Then you can go. You know, or then try it here. Pentatonic world. Same thing here. You know, that's right there is your arpeggio. Then you're right back to what you normally know. Yeah. So it's a good vehicle to get something that's a little bit different sounding to your ear.
Yeah, and I mean,
with all legal notes.
You know, as they say, you kind of had us at hello when you pitched this course because I think I can speak for the vast majority of our students. You know, pretty familiar with my pentatonics, mm-hmm. But we listen to players like yourself, you know, Jeff, Robin, Larry, and they throw in that one little line that really, you know, hips it up.
Yeah.
And it's like, what was that? And what Corey's done with this course is he's given you a lot of answers to that question, different answers. And you play what you know, you throw this thing in, you go back to what you know. It's not like a rocket science. It's really a brilliant curriculum, and that I think answers millions of questions about how to start hipping up your sound.
Sure. Absolutely.
You want to do another one?
Either
wait.
that or take some questions. Either one.
Yeah, let's. Why don't you shout out to your fans from like Dallas, Netherlands, Michigan, Fort Worth, Berlin.
Wow, a lot of Texas in the house. All right.
Las Vegas, and that's Berlin, Germany, by the way.
Awesome.
I know there's a Berlin, Ohio, I think. Houston, Pittsburgh, Hawaii, Tehran, Ohio, San Pedro, Quebec, Scotland, Haarlem in the Netherlands, Spain, Oslo, Norway, Louisville, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Stockholm, Sweden.
There's a lot of Italians in Brazil.
Beach, Finland, Australia, the UK, Utah, Indiana, Seattle, Fargo, Winston-Salem, Sevilla, Spain, Dayton, Ohio, Johnson City, Tennessee, Vero Beach, Pasadena, Tamworth, England, Union Hall, Virginia, Lynchburg, Virginia, Italy, and Ontario, California.
Wow.
That's so far. Sacramento just chimed in.
There we go.
So, I reflect on this almost every broadcast, this global brotherhood or community of, people who love music, people who are very passionate about guitar. It's maybe not
pretty
immediately
obvious,
apparent, but think about the time zones in some of these places. Middle of the night, first thing in the morning, tuning in to spend an hour with you. What do you think about that?
It's the appreciation I have for those folks. It knows no end because I have a chance occasionally. I meet them now with social media. We connect all the time, and I'm always getting asked about advice for gear and lessons and stuff like that. And it's kind of it's the best thing about connecting in social media that it's the good side of it. Put it that way.
Is.
It really is. It's like we're doing the good deed as far as guitar instruction goes. And people that usually speak up to me are like really as sincere as I hope to be on this side of the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. With these examples, and how many of them are in the course, Tommy? 10 of them.
There's 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are 10 ways to kind of hip up your blues by throwing in a little bit of a line you might consider be outside the normal pentatonic, going kind of inside, outside, and then back inside really quick, basically, right?
Yeah.
So 10 different approaches.
Right.
What would be, in your opinion, the best way for someone, intermediate player, who's comfortable with their pentatonics, approaching this course? Learning, should they start at the beginning because those are easier to do? And how would they approach starting to incorporate it into their playing is the question.
Well, I think starting at the beginning is a good thing because usually when I find people that know their scales backwards and forwards, they haven't really delved into arpeggio playing all that much. And although you're not really playing a whole lot of outside notes in the arpeggio world, it does create does give you the license to go to that 2-5-1 thing where there's a lot of magic happening with the 2-5-1 thing like we did earlier.
Yeah.
It's a way to kind of I called it it kind of classes up the blues a little bit more because you're really saying, hey, these are the notes that are going by. You're actually physically playing them. It's a little more sophisticated sounding. So that was kind of the natural progression for me, was to learn the 2-5-1s. When I played in a swing band, all of the songs were 2-5-1s. So you had to kind of be able to navigate through those pretty well to make sense.
And the changes are actually happening though. The 2-5-1 is being played by the rhythm section, right?
Right. But in this case, they're not so much. But it's cool because you can superimpose that, like we said earlier. And yeah, for sure, it's great.
And so, a question Neil has, he says, Corey, I'm struggling with learning arpeggios. Do you have any suggestions on learning and practicing these? And kind of connected to that is, how do you make, once you've learned your arpeggios, how do you make them sound not like you're running arpeggios?
Great. It's great. I can answer both those. So if you're playing over A7 and let's say so this would be the entire A7 arpeggio. What I would do would be take the top half. and just work on that. So if you have like a shuffle, okay, then I learned a long time ago, the arpeggio is really spelling out the notes in the chord. The root, the third, the fifth, and the flat 7. And then the root again. So you can go, oh, that might be a little pedestrian sounding. But what you could also do is start from the third. Finish it with a pentatonic, or pentatonic lick. Something like that.
Nice.
So you have little ideas like that. You could start it from the fifth. You know, that to me, that's very jazzy sounding.
Yeah.
Starting from the third is a really great place to start. Then what you can also do is, like I said, starting from different chord tones, try it a half step below. So you're, you know, I'll do that a lot in the chorus. That's actually something that I didn't even really teach. It just kind of comes in the licks. They'll go.
Nice.
You know, so that's the way to do it. Take small pieces of it and just see that one little part. That would be my recommendation.
That's a great tip, man. Related to that, Watanabe asks, should I practice the arpeggio separate from the blues scale first?
You know, I think if you know the blues scale or you know the pentatonics, what you're going to start to see is that those notes fall right in the scale. You know, so those notes right there are an A major pentatonic. And then that G note, that flat 7, is in the minor pentatonic. So I hear and see all of that stuff at one time, because it's only a fret away from each other, you know. So I think it's hard to answer that other than to say you got to know them all.
Yeah.
But get to the point where you can see the arpeggio in the inside of the scales.
Yeah,
as well.
And that's really one of the, I think, the epiphanies that you've shared with us across all of your courses is it's important to know your scales, important to know your arpeggios, but they're references for where to find the notes that you're going to be working with. You need to know where the notes are, right? Zek, I can't really pronounce his full username, but asks, how do you think about using chromatics in your lines?
Well, that's a really good question, too, and we've addressed that with the chromatic example in the course, where I'll kind of, maybe I'll approach that, let's just take that A7 arpeggio again.
Okay.
So I might go... You know, I'll kind of do some stuff like that, where I'll play the arpeggio, and I'll play that 4-note sequence here on the 3rd string. Because I have flat 3, natural 3rd, the D's the 4, the flat 5, and then I'll play the 5th. And then walk it back down to play the 3rd of A. There's an example where I play, I think it's an E, and I do, you know, that kind of thing. If you do it in a way that goes by relatively quickly, you'll get away with just about any chromatic note for sure. But that's not a cheat. That's more of like, hey, you're really only missing one note lots of times because you might have the major third, the minor third, the flat 5, all that. And again, I played that D. It's got an approach to it that wants to get to the flat 5, then to the 5. So why not use it? Why not get there? You know?
So, I mean, are you saying that pretty much anything goes chromatically as long
I like
as
to think
you...
that.
Huh?
I like to think that. It works for me.
As long as you resolve it correctly.
Got to have
right?
a landing spot.
And the landing spot is generally what?
Any kind of any chord tone.
Like an arpeggio
like
tone.
An arpeggio chord tone. Yeah. If I do one like this. You know, that kind of thing.
Nice.
Like that kind of stuff I'll do from time to time. But I landed on the third. So I'll do that. You know. That gives me to the 4.
Nice.
Know? So there's some ideas like that in the course. For sure.
And there's an illustration of why, if you know your arpeggios, you know, as Corey was just telling you, you're going to throw in your chromatics, but you know what notes you want to kind of target or resolve to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's give them another example. I'm very excited to get to the acoustic chorus, which I think is just crazy cool. So you did an example on melodic minor in the hip blues outside lines.
Yeah.
Talk about that if you would.
The melodic minor scale, I'm not going to pretend to be a total expert on, but I've worked with it for years. It's most commonly referred to as a major scale with a flat third. And it's one of those scales that you can put in a variety of different spots. You can know one shape, and you can play it up a half step from your dominant chord. You can play it up a fifth from the dominant chord, up a fourth. There's a variety of different places. My two favorites are up a half step and up a fifth. Up a fifth probably being my favorite. And I'll use it sometimes going into a chord. So if I'm in the key of A, and I'm playing like A, D, and then E, going to the E, I'll play a B melodic minor. So, and it gives me all kinds of cool notes. It gives me a flat 5. It gives me a flat 7. It gives me 6. It gives me all kinds of stuff. The root note, obviously. There's plenty to choose from.
So let's just rewind the formula again. If you're in the key of A, and you're going to the 5 chord E, you'll play the B melodic minor scale, which is the B major scale with a flat third.
Yeah.
Okay. To go into the E chord.
Yeah, the
right?
E7.
Okay. That's very cool.
It's that kind of stuff. There's like, you can also do a half step up.
Nice.
So, you know, or I could go. So that one, I played an E melodic minor over the A7. Then I end it with a pentatonic, you know.
It's killer. Nice.
It's fun stuff.
In the course, what example are you doing in this course?
I'm doing 2. I'm doing one over a shuffle.
Okay.
And one over a funky blues as well.
And are you going up a fifth? Are you going a half step? Which of the formulas are you using?
I do fifth and half step on both of them, but in different spots.
Okay, so in this course, you're going to get the formula and the playing example so that you can incorporate that into your own hip blues lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Can we roll a track and hear one?
Sure. Not sure which one we got, but I'll figure it out as soon as it starts playing.
Tom, hokey pokey or
Oh yeah. Oh. So we're G. Try it again. Now I'll really outline it. Here we go. Now I hit the third of the C.
Just heard and saw the reason why I'm bringing home a rough copy of this lesson from the course. Because who out there that plays blues and jams or gigs doesn't want to do that?
Well, you're going to have, you look.
Doesn't want to do that.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. I've done enough of this video stuff to know that I'm going to get out in front of the trolls.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, look, I wouldn't do that all the time.
No.
And the solos in the chorus don't do that ever either. You know.
No.
It's like ear twisting stuff at the right moment.
No, that's
So
a very, very good point. All of the examples in the course, you're going to be familiar with everything on either side of these little nuggets that spice up and hip up.
Yeah.
These blues solos and these blues lines.
You might have a blues solo in this course that only really gives you 2 examples of the topic because it was only appropriate to put it in those spots.
Right.
You know. Now the last one, it was the first track we were playing over when we started today, but that is full of like some really oddball stuff. But it's still cool. I think it still works.
Absolutely.
But it's a way to say, okay, now we're going to give you the kitchen sink.
Yeah, and listen, there's a lot of players that just,
that's their bag.
That's their bag. Osnoy being one of them.
That's his bag, man.
Okay.
He does that as good as anybody ever has.
But for most of us, what you teach in this course is exactly what we're looking for. That little bit of spice.
Yeah.
That little bit of, what was that kind of a feeling?
Right.
To, just to spice up kind of the tired old pentatonic lines we're so used to playing. And, I think the course is brilliant, Corey. I think you did a phenomenal job. You guys just saw 3 examples of the 10 that are in this one. I'm going home with a rough copy of that lesson. I'll get it I'll nail it by the time you get back here, and you can grade my.
No, I won't have to. We'll just jam.
Okay, cool. Even better.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the acoustic course now. Cool. So this is, I'm going to fill a little bit here, Corey, while you're getting set up.
Sounds good.
I'll fill first with more geo. We've got Nashville, we got Sarasota, Chicago, the Ukraine, Warsaw, Poland, Hamburg, Oregon, Chile, Peru, Washington, Baltimore, Dubuque, Iowa, which they still spell phonetically for me because I mess it up if they don't. Mexico, the Czech Republic, New Zealand, New Hampshire. Crazy. And thank you all so much for taking the time to tune in and, kind of participate in this live broadcast with Corey and TrueFire. Okay, so this course, Corey, give them the pitch you gave us when you said you wanted to do. And you had us said hello on this one too.
So I said, okay, you're the electric guitar player that has to play acoustic on one song in your band or maybe in your worship service, or maybe, you've played electric guitar your whole life. And I know I'm speaking to some people like this. And then all of a sudden, somebody wants you to do an acoustic duo with them. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, I got to buy an acoustic guitar now. And then you start going, maybe they're playing, and you go, and you're like, why does that not really sound good on acoustic guitar?
Right.
What might sound better is... So it's like, okay, how can I translate, being an electric guitar player over to being an acoustic guitar player? And coming to grips with the fact that my sweep arpeggios aren't going to work very well.
No.
So you got to find little tricks and things that make the guitar sing and really let it sound like what it's supposed to, and jump out where it's supposed to in the mix.
Yeah, and so in this edition, Corey covers a lot of different styles and feels to give you really good examples of how to apply this in the real world. If you guys dig it and you let us know so, okay, we can take this series on and on and on. Yeah. We could drill deep into a style. We could drill deep into certain techniques. But here's your sneak peek into, we have nothing in the library like this. And of course, Corey brings it to the table. So let's just dive right in, man. Do that first one on acoustic and phrasing. Just give us a little...
So, sure. This one I kind of created a theme, and I thought no better type of track should I cover than to make up my own track that sounds like one Mr. Mayor. I did it on purpose. Because there's going to be moments where you need to fill up some space in a song that has that kind of sound. So what we'll do is we'll create themes with some thirds, and then we'll create themes with some single lines as well. So, yeah.
Tommy, roll the track, and let's show them what this is all about. Beautiful.
So just little stuff like that,
Yep. So I'm reflecting on, when we first met, you're a phenomenal acoustic player, and it's kind of coming full circle now, isn't it? Because we've done a ton, and, the bulk of the library is on electric guitar. but you've started now bringing to the table some very cool acoustic courses. And now to go almost full circle and show how to cross over, thus the title, Acoustic Crossover, soloing, from the electric world to the acoustic world. It's really, I don't know of any course on the planet that focuses on that aspect. And I just want to do a quick poll with you guys out there right now. There's a lot of people online right now. How many of you out there are in that kind of situation? Play mostly electric, but every now and then you've got to pull out an acoustic guitar and support the vocalist or do an acoustic tune. How many of you out there fall into that category? Quick poll. Thanks. And while they're polling, okay, can you do another one? You do that target notes thing as well from this course.
Sure. I think this is one that's like a relatively bluegrassy sounding one.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's like I can play some country guitar, but I wasn't born and raised doing it. And I feel like when we're not and we have to play something that's a kind of bluegrassy and you're just not that player, you got to have something that you can lean on. And just hitting some target notes in the chords is really important. So I try to do that with this example on acoustic guitar. So it's kind of like quasi country meets bluegrass meets my brand of blues playing on acoustic guitar.
Awesome. Tommy, roll it. Another aspect of this course that I love is that you cover such a variety of styles. And so we've got some polling in. I'm going to give you the results. And then, well, first, tell the story while we get a few more results about you sending an Instagram out and who responded to you. And tell that story.
I just put a picture of this guitar and said I was shooting a course here. I said, is there any electric guitar players out there that have to play that one solo on acoustic, a night or whatever, and you feel like your fingers are tied? And a buddy of mine said, oh, that's me. So it was pretty cool. I was like, oh, and that guy's a great player, actually. And it was cool that he was honest enough to say that it was him. And it's just something that I think would be helpful. A lot of the folks I encounter as private students, even through like the TrueFire online lesson program and all that, they have all this great electric guitar gear, and they say, I gotta buy an acoustic because I'm gonna go do this duo with my female singer friend, you know. And he's like, I don't know what to do, you know. So this course will help give you some ideas and some fun licks, you know. You can put all the licks on electric guitar too, and it'll still work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's some polling results. We have Susie Wheeler says, never have played electric. Jeff Miller, yep. Richard, yep, mostly electric. Only when I play for my aunt, says Bjorn. Plays acoustic. Mostly electric, playing more acoustic lately. Yep, yes, depends on the gig. Jimmy says, I own 48 electric guitars and one acoustic. LOL. Okay. So I think you've really hit. I think the timing for this course is great because a lot of people are buying that acoustic guitar now.
Yeah.
Acoustic music has really, we talk about the folk alliance, and when you hear what's happening acoustically, it's not folk music or country music. It's some very contemporary, beautiful sounding stuff.
For sure.
And you do see, as we were talking at lunch, you do see a lot of singer-songwriters ask a buddy to come up and accompany them. And you can tell the difference between someone that's an electric player trying to do their electric thing on acoustic and the acoustic player who's playing acoustic, right? Let's do another.
Okay.
How about you do the capos one?
Yeah, so I'm not afraid of capos. I use them all the time. speaking of Tim Pierce, he and I did a really great video on capos last year, which went really well. It was funny because we did a lesson at his house, and then I flew in a track from my place, and he played along with it, and it was a really cool thing. But it was kind of taking the pain away from bar chords and all that stuff. But so let's say you're playing rhythm on acoustic guitar. You're doing that kind of thing, and then you got to play a solo. Well, we're kind of playing the shapes of G, C add 9, E minor 7. And in the course, I show you some open G stuff. We do a very sort of Eagles-esque sounding track. And that prepares you to get to this place where you have all that sort of open pentatonic or major. All that sort of stuff.
Nice.
So that's all. It translates once you put the capo on. But you got to spend a little time trying to figure out where you are because it will look like a maze to you at first.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, but there's some ways that I kind of navigate these tracks when we're in different keys like B or A or any sharp or flat. Same kind of thing.
Let's roll the track, Tommy. See what this sounds like. Beautiful.
Yeah.
How many tracks on this course?
10 as well on this one too.
Okay, and we do. You've got some country, some modern country sounding, some singer-songwriters, some blues.
Yeah.
You really cover the gamut here. So we're really anxious, folks, for you. You know, if you should pick this up to give us some feedback, tell us what else you'd like to see Corey cover in this vein. We think this is really kind of can be a very special
it's
series.
kind of like the working man or working woman guitar player thing. You know, that's kind of always been what I am because I do this to make a living. I've always wanted to since I was 13, and it's usually working on the stuff that gets the job done. And it's that kind of stuff, or it's, again, the blues course we're working on is a little bit left to center, but it's still sort of things that I need to work on and keep in my bank of knowledge so that I can be prepared for anything that comes down the pipe.
Yeah, you've done, man, we're so proud of, you know, and privileged to be working with you and to work with you for so long and see your growth. And I mean, Corey, you know, moves to Nashville and inside of almost no time at all established himself as an artist, sideman, recording, got the gigs, got the road. I mean, I remember you talking about, you know, I'm going to do this thing. And you're definitely one of those people that just makes things happen for themselves. You know,
you have to get to a place where you can bet on yourself.
Yep.
You know, and know that you're going to land on your feet.
Yeah.
And sometimes biting off more than you can chew.
Well, you have a lot of courage, you know. I'll tell you that. You have confidence in yourself, but you know, you put yourself to the test and you've succeeded, you know. And look at all that's brought you now.
Well, you know, have. I sat at your desk and you have this paperweight on there, and it says something to the effect of, "Imagine what you could accomplish if you couldn't fail."
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
it's pretty cool.
Does describe you.
Well,
And when you talked about moving to Nashville, we hear the stories all the time of people that have spent years there, and they diss it and it didn't work for them and they had to move on and this, that, and the other thing. That is not an easy egg to crack, that Nashville gig.
Well, it would be like if you went to Hawaii because you're a surfer.
Yeah.
Or you went to be a
That's
model
right.
in New York City or an
That's
actor
right.
in LA.
It's
Once
the A game.
It is, and you have to. It's what someone called the Olympics.
That's right.
Everybody who's the best from their town.
That's right.
Moved to this particular
That's
place
exactly
to do it,
right.
and you're either gonna get better or move away and quit or something else. And people always say, is it intimidating? Is it competitive? I have more friends that play guitar now than I ever did living in any other town.
Oh yeah.
And my phone blows up all the time. Hey, can you cover a gig? Hey, can you do this? Know anybody that has this player available?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful
It is,
thing.
and it's the epicenter of the music business today.
For sure.
I
Absolutely.
mean, absolutely. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions for you, but we're going to ask the trivia question one more time, which is Corey did a video with a legendary guitar player, one of my guitar heroes for sure. And the name of the video was Unlock the Boxes, which by itself is just an awesome video. We want you to watch. It's why we're using that one. If you can name that legendary guitarist, clicking on the link and answering it offline, not in the thread, you're qualified to be, we're going to randomly pick one winner and give them a $100 gift card. And I see that we're north of 100, actually 119 thumbs ups, which means you're going to have to hang tough a little more and do at least one more tune for us. Okay. But a couple of questions from Kentucky Steve. Okay. This is a really good question. I play in an acoustic duo, but I just strum. Think of the tens of thousands of us that do that, don't have a background with electric soloing. Will this course help me?
Yes, and there's a lot of reasons why. You're probably playing an E a lot. You're probably playing an A a lot. I'm going to teach you how to do things that will be like, let's see here, from an A. So maybe your rhythm player or somebody is playing capo 2 like that. You can take an A chord here. Play a D chord. Anything like that, you have the A ringing. And you have to get crafty with your muting a little bit, but there's some really fun stuff. And if you're an E, there's just a boatload of things you can do. A lot of that stuff is in this course for sure.
Yeah. I love that question because when we were thinking about how to position the course, even though we went with acoustic crossover because that was really the pitch and the real value here. We talked about even if you just play acoustic guitar or want to learn how to solo, there's an incredible vocabulary of licks and moves and chord things that you do. So I think emphatically, Kentucky Steve, the answer is yes to your question. Lewis Rosen asks if Corey can talk about how you see diatonic sixth on the fretboard.
Usually the sixth is what people focus on for that sort of sweeter sound. If I'm in, that kind of sound. I see it in the major world for sure. That's kind of where I go with it.
Cool. Yeah. Let's do this. Trivia winners going to happen in 1 minute. So you've got 60 seconds to chime in there. I want to point everybody's attention to, if you can't see how to put that Corey Live promo code to work, either on these pre-orders or anything in Corey's library. And, for whatever it's worth, I don't have to buy your courses, okay? But I get my pick of like over 1,000 courses. And I have in my TrueFire desktop app every single one of your courses.
Appreciate it.
It will take me a few lifetimes to work through it, but I sure do a lot of cherry picking there, man. I just love it. And, I think it would be very important. Corey is, one of our main go-to artists here. You can favorite Corey. If you favorite him in the TrueFire world, you'll be alerted to anything and everything that he does in the future. I think you want to go to your website. He's designing it's launched, right?
Sure.
A new website.
Yeah.
There's going to be some cool things Corey's doing on the website. You have an email registration list.
Yeah, you can contact me through
Get on that list.
Yeah, I appreciate it, for sure.
He's always traveling. He does a lot of clinics, a lot of workshops, a lot of gigs. This is a guy you want to connect with, okay? So let us see if we pick somebody yet. It's happening in just a second. All right, gear. Let's do a gear rundown.
Cool.
You want to start with a Martin?
Yeah, let's talk about this amazing guitar. So a lot of folks know that I've been working with Martin guitar for, well over 5 years, I think now.
Yeah.
And I met them doing some clinics and some things with the Fishman Company, and they said, hey, why don't you do some of this stuff for us? And just worked into a natural partnership where I go and I tour around the country with their sales reps, and we put on a event called the Martin Experience. We talk about the past, present, and future of Martin guitar, take you through construction, what makes them special, models, body sizes, all that kind of stuff. And the one that they're really proud of right now is this series called the Modern Deluxe. This is what I've been using for my clinic guitar. It's a D18 Modern Deluxe. It's got a really cool bunch of features. You have to pick this up because it's featherweight. There's nothing to it.
Yeah.
And that's because it has things in it like a titanium truss rod, about half the weight of a normal truss rod, a carbon fiber bridge plate. The top is their VTS system, which is their torrefaction, which actually dries the wood out and makes it as if the top is 50 years old. It's incredible. A lot of cool neck design. It's called the Vintage Deluxe neck design. Open gear Waverly tuners, liquid metal bridge pins that are louder than your average bridge pin.
And so the bridge pins really do have an effect, huh?
Just a killer guitar.
The audio on these live broadcasts is pretty good, but if you could hear this guitar live and you had a credit card on you, you would not be able to resist. You just wouldn't.
So this is like my go-to acoustic right now, and I've never been a dreadnought guy because I'm little. I don't play bluegrass, but this guitar does everything I want it to right now. So I'm gonna have a hard time giving that one back. And then we could talk about the electric stuff.
Yeah. What is that, Martin? What's the street price on that? Do you know?
$32.99, $35.99, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But it's right in line with like sort of the high-end boutique acoustic stuff that's out there. So then I brought down one of my favorite guitars. It is a 61 Epiphone Casino. I'm a big fan of Gibson ES330s, and that's what this was before Gibson had that style. Totally hollow, dog ear P90s. It is well weathered.
What year is that?
61.
61.
Yeah, this is like the John Lennon era for sure.
Okay.
So these are just great recording guitars too. And folks, that is just guitar into my 2-rock. It's called a Studio Signature. and you can see the robot camera moving on it.
Uh-huh.
It is an amazing little amp, 35 watts.
Yeah.
It's got a switch in the back. It's like a smaller version of the classic reverb signature that folks like Matt Schofield play. It's got sort of his signature gain boost in it as well.
Yep.
And that's going directly into the aux box from Universal Audio.
Yeah.
They just released an update for that. I can tell that. They did it today. I shot a really cool video with them because I approached Universal Audio and I said, I need to be your demo guy. I could tell this story. So we're not using the cabinet, even though it's mic'd up. We're not using it. Going right in there, I'm getting all my cabinet simulation, my effects. And I was like, you know what? For this course, I don't need a pedal board. I'm just going to bring that. And I have my little Greer Lightspeed pedal. It's just a great transparent overdrive. I don't think I could live without it. So I turn it off. It's almost little change, if any.
So you travel everywhere with that pedal?
If I'm playing an electric gig, it usually comes with me, for sure. Now, the cool thing is I put that amp in a road case, and I packed it full of, with towels and stuff. And it has a little carry bag that comes with it, too. And I checked it on the airplane. And I've done that twice now. And so far, so good.
Really? Now,
Fingers crossed.
you play to rock pretty much exclusively or whenever you're
Yeah,
able?
for the most part. That or vintage Fenders. But hey, I'm a guitar player. I want one of every amp if possible.
And were you the one that hipped us to the aux originally?
I am, yeah.
That thing is phenomenal.
It's a real game changer because you can not only do it like we're doing today, but you can also use the attenuator in it as well. And like I said, the update just came available. There's new cabinets. There's a foot switch capable function now. There's a bunch of new presets. It's really
Give
cool.
folks a really quick overview on what the aux does and why we love it.
So you got a tube amp, right?
Yeah.
And tube amps, unless they're for the most part, you need to turn them up to get them to sound the way you want to.
Right.
Now, with aux, there was primarily considered a recording device. They call it a guitar recording system. So in the old days of recording guitar, it was guitar into amp, room microphones, cabinet microphones, and post effects. So effects in the mix engineer would put on later. Aux really pays homage to that by giving you cabinet simulation. It's called dynamic speaker modeling. It's different than a Kemper or Fractal or any of that IR type stuff, which is impulse responses. This is their own brand of modeling. The cabinets inside actually kind of respond to the amplifier in a cool way. It's an all analog signal path, which other products don't have like the aux does. It's really, really cool. There's an app that works with it where you can select cabinets, microphones, room sound. Like if I wanted to turn the room sound up, it gets blasting out his input there. It sounds like there's actually a speaker in a bathroom somewhere. So that's a really cool function that makes you feel like you're really in a studio.
So would someone that bring that into their home practice studio?
What's cool is
what's
you can
the value of that to an everyday player?
You can hook a speaker up to it, and then you can attenuate the speaker. Or if you have a little home recording rig with powered speakers, you take the output of aux through that, and then you're hearing your guitar at any level. I mean, you can have a 100-watt Marshall and dime it and use aux, and you'll never be waking anybody up. It's amazing. It's my favorite piece of
gear. We use that. I mean, thank you for hipping us to that.
Yeah,
Tommy loves it. And there's very few sessions where we don't use that thing. It's incredible. What do they go for now, street price?
I think they're still $12.99.
Yeah, which is totally
look at the
worth it, right?
They'll price a vintage U67 microphone or a 414.
Right,
it's going to be at least. It's going to be way more than that.
Yeah. One of these days we should do a real thorough gear demo with you. As Corey is a gear. He's amazing when it comes to gear. So, plugging into his world not just gets you all the, great music, great lessons across a whole variety of styles, acoustic and electric. But there's some really good gear tips in there, dialing in tone and stuff in the work that you do. So
Thanks.
you need to plug into his world. Thank you for that gear
Of
segment.
course, yeah. Kept it light today.
So you're not done because you
All
got
right.
now 136 thumbs ups, and
Oh, great.
you have to play one more thing for all of
Okay,
us.
sure.
I will thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Corey, for spending. We've
course.
gone a little bit over, but people are digging it. And your call.
Oh, my call.
What do you
Whatever
wanna do?
Tommy's got, whatever. We'll let
Tommy?
Tommy call it.
Stump the artist.
Sure. I don't even remember what these names are anymore. You get kind of like, melted brain after 2 days in
know,
the
man.
studio. Yeah. Here we go.